Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. The Jamaica Employees Federation is calling for the extension of layoff period. Greater focus to be placed on time at hospital. And later in sports, Jamaican and West Indian batsman looks forward to test series against Sri Lanka this week. I'm Shane Masters. Here are the details. The Jamaica Employees Federation is making another call this afternoon for some of its members to get an extension on the 120 days now provided for layoffs under the law. The issue was first raised last year during the height of a pandemic, but was rejected by trade unions. But speaking on Power 106's morning agenda, the JEF appealed for government intervention.
President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, David Wan, argues that where government provision prevents them from restarting their business, additional time should be given. But how much time?
It's hard to put a figure on it because you never know how long the situation continues where the government says you can't open. But we've talked about 60 days, 90 days in addition to that. And again, we're open to talking about can there be a percentage of the salary during that period beyond the 120 days?
Mr. Wan says businesses across the island are still reeling from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's the reason he wants the government to intervene.
If we don't get some favorable legislation, we could be talking survival of the firm, which then means that employee may not have a long-term future with this company if it goes out of business. And again, if they have to get made redundant, it's a cost to the company.
But Mr. Wan's quest for an extension is not sitting well with at least one trade unionist. General Secretary of the Union of Technical, Administrative and Supervisory Personnel, UTASP, St. Patrice Ennis, says 120 days is more than enough.
But that's quite a long time, and you are aware also that during that time, a person is without compensation. That's a long time. And so it is onerous to be asking a person to endure more, without any form of compensation. I think that's rather burdensome.
In the meantime, Mr. Wan also wants the government to lead the charge as it relates to mandatory vaccination.
We're hoping the government to set a vaccination policy for the public sector workers, which is close to 100,000 persons. And from that, I think most private sector companies would fashion something similar because you're following the lead of the government.
Codian Barrett, TVJ.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says a greater focus will have to be placed on time and cost overruns on the rehabilitation work at the Cornwall Regional Hospital. The main building of the health facility has been closed since early 2018 due to mold and air quality issues.
Don't look good on people. And this is not unique to any contractor, right across the board. 50%, 60%, 100%. At some point, we're going to have to answer the parliamentary process as to why these cost overruns have occurred.
Dr. Tufton was speaking at the signing of a $1.6 billion contract for the continuation of work on the hospital. The contract was signed between the Health Ministry and the Donald Mullings-led M&M Jamaica Limited.
I've challenged and the commissioning agent that every cost overrun and time overrun must be absolutely justified. Otherwise, we take whatever action is necessary, because I am not going to be the one to explain to people why, up to this point, we're spending the taxpayers' money and not getting what they expect from it.
Jamaica recorded 91 new cases of the COVID-19 virus in the last 24 hours from 822 samples. The overall case count is now 90,558. The country's positivity rate is 12.4%. Over the last 2 weeks, there have been 861 active cases. 106 people are still being treated in hospital, 7 are critically ill, and 28 severely ill. 171 persons have recovered, pushing the overall recovery count to 61,484. In the meantime, 11 people have died from the respiratory illness, pushing the death toll to 2,354. One death is under investigation. Municipal authorities in Maypen Clarendon are coming under fire from some businesses and residents for the traffic plan being enforced in the town. Hundreds of vehicles are being clamped in areas that do not have the requisite traffic signs. More in this report. People who do business in Maypen say the town is no longer a suitable commercial district due to inadequate parking. Some residents say they have had their cars clamped after parking in areas they thought were suitable.
Just come back for move my car and go away. When I come and see clamp, I went down by the parish council and talked to the lady. And I told her that no sign is not there that could tell me that there is and not to park there. But I tell her no sign is not there. She tell me that sign was there, but people tear down the sign. You understand? So I have to go look the money somewhere and compare. And I don't know where to find the money to go borrow and pay. Because I don't have any money. I don't even eat from morning.
They don't put up no parking sign there that you can tell that there is no parking anymore because I've been parking there from 2017.
The local authorities say the clampdown is part of their ongoing traffic plan to ease congestion and return order to the parish capital. It was revealed at the Municipal Corporation meeting that between October 15 and November 10, close to 300 vehicles were clamped for breaches.
The Municipal Corporation, as a body, we must be able to provide parking for customers where there is no parking space, like you come on 7th Road and these businesses that have been there for years, and there is no parking for their customers to park to go into those business places. And there's basically nothing can be done about those businesses because of the time that they were built. But what are we looking at? To get a public parking for persons to park in an area where they can go about their business, shop, and know that it is also safe.
Municipal personnel who clamp motor vehicles are often the target of verbal abuse and threats of physical harm from residents who feel they are overstepping their authority.
It's not everybody who comes to Maypen know where they should park and not to park. Even persons who live in the parish doesn't know where to park and not to park. So if you're going to regulate it, install and erect some sign.
The authorities say they intend to offer more facilities in Maypen and have identified 3 properties that could serve as car parks. One councillor, in the meantime, proposed that some of the funds raised from parking breaches be used to fix the roads in the parish.
We have road to fix, you know. And that's a reality. And we find a way to fund these projects. The CFO, one CEO will tell you. So we find ways. They'll be clamping it. But remember, one time they just have 5 and 10 cars to get clamped for the whole month or something like that. Now we have 200. So if money is there, we need to explore where we can get some funding.
The intention behind clamping is really not for revenue. It is for order. And we would prefer if we don't have any vehicle to clamp.
Over in St. Thomas, the National Works Agency has moved to allay fears about the destruction of the Roselle Falls in the parish during the construction of the South Coast Highway Improvement Project. More in this report. There's now a sense of ease among councillors and residents of St. Thomas over the future of Roselle Falls. Last Friday, tempers flared after news emerged that the falls located on the main road would be affected by the South Coast Highway Improvement Project. Following the complaints, Communications Manager at the National Works Agency, Stephen Shaw, toured the area and assured the people that the falls would not be touched.
We are not going to be doing anything to negatively impact this waterfalls or the area generally.
He, however, noted that at the back end of the project, aesthetical improvements will be done to include sidewalks and a proper drainage system. The project is expected to be completed in 2022. Councillors in the parish are happy with the decision.
I'm somewhat satisfied because in life you never get everything you want. I wish the road would take a different route, the original route up in the hills, but all in all, we have come to an understanding and, I just have to agree with that for the time being.
As to why an alternative road was not selected or built, Mr. Shaw says that is still a possibility.
Before the project was rescoped, the discussion had been had about a bypass for white horses. And that bypass would have seen us building a road to the north of this particular falls. But that's not going to happen under this program. I believe that there is still a commitment to having the bypass built. As to when that will happen, I cannot say.
Meanwhile, residents say a close watch will be kept on the works to ensure that what was promised by Mr. Shaw is carried out. In the meantime, this call to the Tourism Ministry.
We have been in touch with the Ministry of Tourism to put this as a project for the Ministry of Tourism to enhance the entire area, that local people, the visitors alike, can see this as a tourist attraction. We must say Roselle Waterfall represents a very important place for the people of this parish.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. New technology that could significantly reduce wait times or patients in need of specialist care and surgeries, but it costs a pretty penny. Doctors from the diaspora recently trained some of their colleagues in Westmoreland on the use of handheld ultrasound machines. Krista Campbell reports.
An ultrasound machine that doesn't always work and resource shortages for basic medical care are not unique to the Savlamar Hospital in Westmoreland. But with the medical facility buckling under pressure from soaring COVID hospitalizations earlier this year, now that things have somewhat eased, doctors from the U.S. have arrived to help.
We were taking the vitals this morning. The vital machine missing 2 wheels, the overbed table that we were working on is missing a wheel. You know, some of the beds are the brakes aren't working. So, I mean, like I said, I only wish we could have brought more.
But perhaps the biggest assistance was the training of several doctors.
What Dr. Dixon had done when he was here, he was able to train many of the residents and the doctors who are available in how to use the ultrasound, because there are times when an ultrasound can tell you so much in such a quick, short evaluation that helps you to triage that patient and get the patient to, you know, the appropriate place. So by being able to get that ultrasound in the emergency room fixed, these doctors won't lose what they were taught and can actually help their patients, you know, along very quickly. When you have an overflow ER where there are a lot of patients, then you might be able to move it to somewhere that you can't bring the large ultrasound machine. But I think for now, having that large ultrasound machine goes a long way.
And if Jamaica can afford it, local doctors can benefit even further from new handheld ultrasound machines which provide readings that can be instantly accessed on a mobile device.
We have these devices in the United States. It's handheld ultrasound connected to your phone. They're referred to as Butterfly, that's the name of the company. And it's very easy. You can actually, so I'd be holding my phone and I have the ultrasound with a gel and I'm looking at somebody, whether their heart rate, the way the heart is contracting. I'm able to see if it's someone who comes in with a trauma. I can look at their bladder. I can look at different areas in the abdomen to see if they have any internal bleed in many places, which a lot of times help in your expeditious evaluation, assessment, and management of these accident victims.
Dr. Michael Morgan is part of Medical Missions Group, Jamaicans Abroad Helping Jamaicans at Home, Jaja Foundation. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
And it's now time for the Business Minute.
In the financial world, Ocherios-based attraction park Mystic Mountain is re-evaluating its revenue model after being significantly impacted by the pandemic. Its sales manager Simone McCoy says the company has been kept afloat by local clients.
We have retained 30% of our market, and as the cruise ships come in and as the hotel occupancies increase, we see that we're trending in the right direction. So I'm assuming, hopefully by the end of winter season, we should be at around 60% of our old market share.
Caribbean Cement Company Limited shareholders are preparing to vote on whether to start paying royalties to its international parent company Cimex for the use of its trademarks and other intellectual property. The agreement specifies payments of up to 4% of Carib Cement's revenue. This would amount to $800 million. Voting is scheduled to take place on December 7. Water be a lucrative business? We find out this Sunday in the Business Review. And that's it for the Business Minute this week. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And for the top regional and international stories, here's Sandra Williams.
In regional news, Guyana may soon start to manufacture Pfizer's COVID-19 pill, Paxlovid. Pfizer has signed an agreement with the World Health Organization's Patent Production Office, allowing countries to use its technology to manufacture the pill. Guyana's Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony said while the country does not have the manufacturing capacity in the public sector for pharmaceuticals, there are private companies that would be able to produce the drug. Dr. Anthony noted that the efficacy of the medicine was reviewed and it seemed to be working quite well. Earlier this week, Pfizer announced that it was seeking U.S. authorization of its experimental antiviral COVID-19 pill that could cut the chance of hospitalization and death by 89%. On the international scene, days after Austria imposed a lockdown on the unvaccinated, it has announced a full national COVID-19 lockdown starting on Monday. The lockdown will last a maximum of 20 days. Many other European countries are imposing restrictions as cases rise. Latest figures show an incidence rate of 990.7 cases per 100,000 people in the past week. A record of 15,809 cases were reported in the last 24 hours in a population under 9 million. With the top regional and international stories, I'm Sandy Williams.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your Midday Sports Report. Simon Preston is standing by.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. Jamaican and West Indian batsman Jermaine Blackwood says he's not concerned that the team did not have a warm-up match leading into their two-match test series against Sri Lanka this weekend. The tour match, which was slated to run from November 14 to 17, was abandoned due to rain. But Blackwood says the Caribbean side had good preparation in the Caribbean.
They are in good spirit. We recently left from the Caribbean and we played two best of the best games. So most of the guys get a proper hit out in the middle in Antigua. But you know, since we reach here, some rain and stuff. But I think the guys are in a very good place. We trained few days because you know we had rain and the guys really look good. And today again at practice, you can see you know the guys adapting to the surface as quickly as possible, and very pleasing to see how the guys are going about their work at practice. And I don't think that practice match is going to end us at all.
The 29-year-old says he's hoping to spend more time at the crease.
To be honest, I don't stick to my strength, to be honest. I don't really care anywhere in the world I go, but now I'm starting to understand my game much better than in the past. I really know my game now inside out. So, you know, the last time I played here, I was, you know, playing more attacking, to be honest, because I was batting like with number 11. But this time around, hopefully if I get a chance, you know, I can bat more longer for the team.
First test in Gaul bowls off on Saturday evening, Jamaica time. To football we go now, as seven-time winners Excelsior will battle St. Jago in Group B action of the Manning Cup this afternoon. Excelsior are fourth in the group on 3 points, while St. Jago are sixth on 1 point. Kick-off is at 3 o'clock Jamaica time. At sports time, it was 0-0 between Camperdown and St. Andrew Technical, and 0-0 between Dunoon Technical and Jonathan Grant. And finally this afternoon, Reggae Boys striker Kemar Roach will be taking instructions from Dutch legend Giovanni van Bronckhorst, who has been appointed as the new manager of Rangers FC until the end of the season. Van Bronckhorst played for Rangers from 1998 to 2001, claiming 5 trophies, including 2 league titles. His first game in charge of Rangers will be on Saturday against Hibernian in the Scottish League Cup semi-finals. And that is where we blow the final whistle for now for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Ashane, it is over to you.
All right. And news just in: the Jamaica College Board has issued a statement in regards to the special leave for extension for World Reed. Mr. Reed's leave expires tomorrow. Now, the board says the extension has not been granted. As we reported yesterday, the board confirmed that it's been working to conclude a settlement of the matter. It says discussions are at an advanced stage and are expected to be completed soon. The board says it is aware of the criminal charges laid against Mr. Reed, but has no evidence that can support disciplinary hearing, which could lead to his termination. The board says the priority at this time is maintaining the current stability and status quo at the school and the board. And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for primetime news. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.